Hi, welcome to the first episode of Hosa Conversation by Hosachiguru. So this is not a trash talk. Today we are here to converse about something that's going to get under your skin, literally. Because plastic pollution is no longer an environmental problem, it's becoming a health problem. So today we have who are addressing this problem in their own different ways. So we have Ashok Kumar with us, who's the chairman of Hosachiguru. We have Shiv Shankar, who's the packaging sustainability and innovation leader at Amazon. We have Guru Prakash, who's the Infosys climate action head. And we have Sumant, who's the director of Humane Society International. And I'm Shubhankar, I'm the founder of Foreign Analytics. Sumant, let's start with you. Today, plastic pollution is no longer an environmental problem. It's becoming more and more of a health problem. So what's your take on that?
It's absolutely right. I think in our work on both wild animal health and human health, some years ago we used to think of plastic as litter that's on the side of the roads. Now it's gone past that. It's in our blood, it's in lung tissues. I think it's also being detected in placenta of unborn children at this point of time. It's scary. We've seen in my work with wild animals, we've seen elephants, for instance, consuming plastic.
Yeah.
I work with wild animals, we've seen elephants, for instance, consuming plastic, and us finding samples of plastic in elephant dung. We know several cows, for instance, on the streets of most cities are eating plastic and is choking their body from inside. So while we see these happening now, it's only a matter of time before it happens within us.
I think just to add to that, the disproportionate rise in cancer cases were already there. It's already become a health crisis.
Yeah, see, when plastic components enter our body, it interferes with our body function. When it interferes with the body function, which tissue it will go and impact in short term and long term, it will be very difficult to understand. And it finally manifests and as a cancer, breast cancer or a tissue cancer or any other cancer. And that is when it will be alarming and the alarm bells goes up for the people. Until then, it is a silent killer.
While this is becoming a health crisis, I think our lifestyle is to bring up a data point. So about, I read somewhere that 1 million water bottles are bought every single minute. So that's how
Huge.
bad it is. Yeah. So Guru, going back to you, from a corporate sustainability lens, right? If you're looking at plastic pollution as a problem, do you think we've kind of underestimated how bad it is currently?
From a corporate standpoint, I don't think it is underestimated. The mere fact that plastic stays in the atmosphere for over 400 years should ring alarm bells for everyone. So corporates are in a slightly better position, I would say, so that they can roll out initiatives, roll out mandates fairly easily compared to, the public spaces or in the government. For corporates, it is to bring about a change in the system, in the way of functioning. It may be slightly easier. It may be impacting the cost in some way. You can see initiatives from several corporates in eliminating plastic.
Also, just to kind of add to that, so I think ESG mandates are also kind of being designed around this, and they're kind of adding this to their own business strategies. So that's something that we'll talk about. Anything you want to kind of add with respect to this?
Yeah, I think with respect to the corporates, right, there are multiple initiatives right now have taken place. I think in terms of like how to reduce the plastic, how to even recycle, and how to kind of like eliminate that completely wherever possible. It's not kind of India specific problem, it's a global problem, and we have to have the global even initiatives across the corporates, right, just to kind of have a long-term solution for that. There is no short-term fix, right, to address that.
Very interesting. Sumant, you've been doing a lot of projects with corporates, so what do you think about this?
There's always this question of, is it good that we've started and are we doing enough?
Right.
It's always a balance. I'm sure it is for corporates as well, right? because there's only so much that you can do within the resources that you have.
Correct.
And the question is always the little bit that we're doing, what impact is it having going forward? Or what is it cascading into beyond what we're just doing? But I think, like Guru said, it's a start, and we've come to a point now where we recognize this is a threat, and we're trying to figure out how we can deal with it, which to me is honestly great. It's not a conversation that was had 20 years ago, for instance, when this came about. There was plastic, I think, discovered at the bottom of Mariana Trench, the deepest point on Earth.
Oh, is that?
Yeah. And
oh, wow. Okay.
So that's testament to how durable it truly is. And that's
consumables.
Right.
We have around 27 farms, so people visit. So we also have to provide beverages and food. So that also we made it completely plastic free in all the places. And
decision. So how did you come up to sort of taking a pledge?
Yeah.
What drove you towards that?
One advantage we had is we are living in nature, correct? All our farms are completely natural, and we have taken long back pledge of doing everything organic and natural. A core principle what we follow is observe the nature and follow it.
Right.
Now if you see any tree, it doesn't have anything that will remain after the tree as the tree is growing. So that means we should have things and decisions in our day-to-day life or in our business that are sustainable.
Right.
So from that perspective, we do not use any synthetic fertilizers like urea or DAP in any of our 27 farms for last 5 years. Thus, that itself has avoided us from consuming something like 2,000 tons of synthetic fertilizers.
Right.
We use only cow dung or compost and any cultures that are required. All 27 farms.
Right.
And we have taken a very hard stand on that, and it is giving results. It was not that because of this decision we have gone through any serious hardship. It is available. We have observed the nature and we are following it.
Very interesting.
Another adding to that is suppose people also do sprays, chemical sprays and harmful sprays and all. So we consciously took. We will not do any chemical sprays in our farms.
Right.
So that also reduced about 10,000 liters of pesticides we avoided using from last 5 years.
Okay.
So that means thousands and thousands of plastic bottles or carbides are avoided being used. And all that is replaced by locally farm available material in the farm. Now with this is what we came into, being with nature, we should take next step. Like involve our co-farmers also, so that they also will, many of them are aware, but maybe repeating the message is better.
Essential.
Very essential. So that's why we took that pledge last year, and we are going good in that.
Nice. Very interesting. So some of the learnings, can you talk a little bit about how the journey in itself has been since last year in terms of learnings operationally and or otherwise?
Yeah, from after the pledge, we went about first doing it in our corporate office. All the material, all the consumables, all the bottles, and all the glasses, cutlery, everything is made plastic free. And we have also put some collection bins at various places, because you cannot wish that it will be plastic free. So whatever is being generated, dry waste, we are giving it to the local authorities wherever we have a handling system.
Very interesting. So building from what you just said, I think there is merit in collective action, right?
Correct.
So coming back to you, Guru, so what do you think is necessary in terms of a policy positioning, right? And also talking about corporate behavior. So government is the key stakeholder. So what do you think should be done to actually drive sustainable impact and long-term change?
Yeah, many things can be done. See, there are both direct and indirect ways of influencing all these initiatives. Right?
Yeah.
So for a company like Shiv was saying on the packaging material. So we, if companies are getting plastic in the packaging material and not paying extra for maybe a sustainable packaging, if it is extra, if it costs extra, then you spend more on treating them, you spend more on
Yeah,
recycling,
true.
the other ecosystem,
Yeah.
you have to spend more somewhere. Maybe it makes sense for many companies to actually look at sustainable packaging material when they purchase some goods. So today, many electronic companies, IT equipment suppliers, they are offering sustainable packaging with things like laptops, switches,
Yeah,
and all.
correct.
It's becoming very common,
Yeah.
and it costs hardly anything. And this is something that is going as a spec for many of the IT-related purchases these days. So it's a great thing.
Right.
And the other thing is, direct policy interventions. Yes, I think looking at what is happening in our water bodies, it's very visible.
Yeah,
Our water body is
absolutely.
flooded with this tons, millions of tons of plastic
Yeah.
waste on a daily basis. Is choking the rivers, choking our drains, flooding our cities. These are something very, very clear, visible impact of
Yeah.
negative impacts of what we are using today. Well, of course, plastic is a very big, benefit in many ways. As you said, it's very convenient. I think some more stringent action against manufacturing of these plastics on the manufacturing ecosystem. I think there should be a drive to, rather than stopping or curbing manufacturing of a certain type of, say, plastics, for example, they should be incentivized to move towards more sustainable alternatives. A lot of retail, big retail, you can see.
Yeah.
You pay for the bags, you pay
Yeah.
for the plastic, the paper bags.
Correct.
There's no plastic anymore in the big retail at
Yeah,
least.
correct.
But still there are these smaller vendors on the street vendors, rampant use of plastic bags, you still see. That can only be curbed if they are incentivized to use something better for the environment, if they are sensitized on what is the harmful effects of these material that they're using.
Also,
That's
I
something,
think subsidizing these will actually add value, like you said. So, a smaller vendor, if he said that you use this and it will cost the same and you'll not attract penalties, then there's no reason for him to not use it.
Yeah.
So,
And I'll give you a very simple example. You see the coconut vendor, right?
Yeah.
So many people have this paper straws,
right, right,
and many people still use the plastic straws.
correct.
I try to reason with them, why do you use the plastic straws? Why not paper straws? So they say paper straw is expensive for me. It costs 1 rupee more for each straw. It's a very expensive thing. And some people have things like the straws are very big. And when people start drinking, they finish it in like very quickly. And they say that there's not enough water in this.
That's an interesting
So
problem.
That kind of stuff. I try to reason with a lot of these guys in the daily usage. So these need to be enforced a little more strongly, so that the awareness is created in a big way. So once you do this for 2-3 years in a very proper way, robust way, if you mandate this, then it becomes a part of the behavior.
No,
So
absolutely.
that's something that we have seen in our company as well. We have seen that when we did this change, there was a very good acceptability. Nobody ever complained on any of such things, on the daily use items that we replaced with sustainable alternatives.
No, absolutely.
Sorry.
Yeah. Just to kind of build on top of what he's saying, right? So, for any policy to actually be a success, so all three things need to go hand in hand. So, one is command and control, so where you kind of enforce what you're saying. The other thing is basically using market instruments, so subsidies and other things. And the third thing is basically nudging the consumer and the vendor to actually adopt this. So, that is awareness and education. So all three together add value. But yeah, coming back to you, I actually wanted to ask you this. One thing is with respect to waste, plastic production and usage. But another key component of this is plastic waste management in itself. So since you've been working a lot in this space, I think you'll be able to add value. So yeah, why don't you go ahead and...
Yeah, so I had a couple of points to add to what you said as well. I think thinking about where you extend the responsibility on the producer is going to be key.
Right.
Because many years ago, I'm sure there weren't milk packets delivered home.
Yeah.
We would go with coins to a booth with our own vessel,
Absolutely.
go collect milk and come.
Yeah.
We were shifted into the practice of plastic packaging by producers.
Convenience.
Correct.
By convenience.
Correct.
So I think there needs to be a greater degree of responsibility on producers because they have the power to really shift consumer behavior massively, right?
A very interesting case study. So since you brought that up, so KSPCB is trying to do that. So they're setting up these reverse vendor machines, right, where you can go and deposit your empty plastic bottle, and you get like a 1 rupee for each bottle that you deposit.
Yeah.
So they're trying to do this. I think they recently did a pilot in Hubli. I'm not really sure, but yeah, they're trying to do this. So that's something that's very interesting.
Yeah, which I think is going to go a long way, right? And
Correct.
It will come down to what that amount is. If
Yeah.
people care, do enough people care enough for that
Yeah.
token amount and
Yeah.
that bit of it.
No, but the other thing is it also creates employment and an industry in itself, right, where waste collection becomes more lucrative.
Correct. More lucrative, and it enables more people to be a part of it. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
this powder karmikas or somebody
Exactly.
somewhere far away doing this.
Yeah.
Correct.
It needs to be everyone. We're all generating equal amount of waste, all of
Yeah.
us. So it needs to be up to us to just go deposit somewhere. But going back to what you were saying about waste management, it is such a challenge today still. Again, it's not the material. Even if we switch over, it's partially material, of course. But if we were all to switch over to paper straws, disposal of that is something that we still have to concern ourselves with.
Correct.
Absolutely.
It's not that it's carbon neutral completely. It
Yeah.
does have a cost to it.
True.
Probably lesser than plastic, but it still ends up somewhere.
Yeah.
Which we don't have full insight into, for instance. So then you feel pointless of all the efforts that you put in.
Yeah.
So waste management, I think, is a big challenge, right? Irrespective of what the material is. To me, at the heart of it all, where it comes down to is this consumption.
Absolutely.
Do we need certain things, or do we need things in one day as opposed to in 4 days when it would have come otherwise? Because we lived in times before these things as well.
Yeah.
So is it hard for us or impossible for us to go back to that? Is the question.
I mean, it's a challenge. Coming back to you, Shivshankar, so just building on top of what he said, so the buck stops at packaging, right? Most of the plastic problem, a lot of plastic is generated through packaging. So what do you think is actually the bottleneck? If we want to address these problems, one way to control it is through sustainable packaging, but what do you think is the bottleneck to actually fix?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think with respect to, as Suman mentioned, that customer awareness, right? In India, there is a pact, you must have heard of that, is India Plastic Pact, right? IPP. It's actually kind of doing fantastic job. I was also part of that. So where we actually set out 4 goals, right, with respect to this addressing the plastic menace. So one of the goals was to eliminate, wherever possible, like unnecessary plastic, right? That is number 1. Number 2 is with respect to the reusability aspect of that plastic packaging. Wherever possible, just try to reduce and reuse. The third was recyclability of that plastic packaging. So the problem which I think Sumant has mentioned, right, especially kind of for any primary packaging, the structure of the packaging, right, it plays very important role in terms of making it recyclable. There are some chemical recycling facilities, but they are not sufficient enough, right, for this country, right, to take care of vast amount of this multi-layer plastic packaging. So you have to innovate right there while developing that kind of primary packaging, that how it actually can be effectively recyclable. And the 4th goal of this IPP was with respect to the effectiveness of the recyclability, right? So it has to be kind of 100% recyclable. It's not like say 40 or 50% recyclable. It doesn't make sense, right? In order to make it sustainable, right? Or minimize the kind of this that landfill, right, due to this plastic that waste. So there are certain bodies across the globe, so similar to even IPP, so who actually kind of know that tirelessly working in terms of setting those goals and actually kind of drive the initiatives to achieve that, right? I'm pretty sure, like, that at the government level, there definitely, like, should be some initiatives and which should be enforced or in terms of through some regulations, right? These things, I think, like, gradually will help, right, that manage the plastic waste more effectively.
Right.
And also, one thing I would like to call out, the ecosystem, right? The way actually, like, plastic is originated and then goes back, like, whether it's a recycling system or kind of to that landfill, that has to be kind of like thoroughly analyzed. Some of the corporates are working on compostable, say, plastic, right?
Yeah.
But
Correct.
is it the kind of best alternative, to be very honest, right? Or it will create more problems for us, right?
Yeah,
Because where is the composting infrastructure, right? If somebody asks, right, we don't have the right answer, right? Because it's not kind of conventional plastic, for example. Those are kind of one of the sustainable solutions, right? Because those can be composted easily with the right composting facility. But are the countries like ready, right? I should say no at this point of
Not
time,
yet.
right? And also the awareness among the customers, right? The conventional plastic versus this compostable plastic, right? So you have to segregate accordingly, because here, as one mentioned, like already by struggling even like with the existing plastic, right?
Yeah.
Then it will create a lot of burden even, right, in the existing system. So
Absolutely.
I think solutions are there, but how to manage that in an effective way, right, whether compostable or the conventional plastic, right? So those we have to kind of literally kind of ponder over and think through that, no? Or
Very
long-term
interesting.
solution.
Yeah, I think, I mean, that was deep insight, so very helpful. Just trying to understand from that perspective, coming back to you, Ashok. So, while producers are trying to sort of work at their end, they will sort of be incentivized or forced to do more when the consumer actually tries to penalize them for using a lot of plastic, right? So this starts with vendors and distributors.
European countries had a policy of charging for the bags. If you don't carry your bags, you get charged in the
Yeah.
supermarket, and it was a big charge for each bag.
Yeah.
And because the quality of bags were really good.
That's
Even
the
though they
thing,
were plastic, but they used to charge for it.
Yeah.
No, what I was thinking is, adding to what you were saying earlier on the extended producer responsibility.
Yeah.
See, government as a whole, government can influence in many ways.
Correct.
For large companies, when they set shop in a new country, a new city or something, maybe you can have certain terms and conditions on what is it that you're going to produce in terms of waste. So everybody moved to plastic, and that is one of the biggest nuisance that we have today, right? So I think some of these things can be fixed at a higher level
Absolutely.
when you have permits for these companies. Look very carefully on what actually they are generating in terms of
No,
waste.
I think
where actually the raw material is coming
But does
from.
it then come down to priority at a government ecosystem level?
No, this is actually happening, right? So when you're setting up a plant, a DPR is built, and you need different levels of permissions.
Right.
So the green approval is something that happens as well, but
But
then
every
again, it's just compliance. It's
Yeah.
not
So
something that.
particularly these things may not be addressed as of now.
Yeah.
Looks like, because otherwise we wouldn't see the ocean of plastics on all
Produced.
our water bodies and roads
Absolutely.
like we do now.
It's also about how this is being enforced. Everything's on paper, but then you need to deploy resources to monitor it and enforce it. So that is a challenge that the government faces.
Yeah.
But of course, it needs to get better.
Yeah. Well, what we are actually missing out from the government side is that it's a very big revenue.
Yeah,
opportunity.
correct.
The fines that can be collected, and by enforcing that can actually take care of all the resources. So that kind of stuff, it can also be a good a revenue model or can pay for the resources at least.
No, absolutely. I think
want to
if you disincentivize the use of plastic, right? So one classic case study is in Europe. They say a bottle of water costs more than a beer. So why is that? Because actually, I had a conversation with one of these people who are selling water bottles in Europe. So they're like, these are plastic bottles, so packaging is expensive. Then separate taxes are laid on that. So that's something that can be done across the globe, right? So that will be an interesting thing that can actually be done.
Yeah.
So
While these actions are all top down, maybe bottoms up is education.
Yeah.
Maybe more education and awareness
Community.
also will help people to adopt to these things. Sometimes common sense is not common.
True.
So it is helpful that we publicize, show some boards or some educational materials. Maybe will be useful for making the awareness better.
No, coming back to you, right? Like, so wanted to understand this. Once you actually took that plastic-free pledge, has your experience been different? Like, have people tried to sell you the same products they were in a different form? Did they kind of actually?
Since ours is a kind of a medium size or a small
Yeah.
size consumer company, we were not able to influence them to change the package,
Yeah.
but we made different choices.
Right.
We made choices where it is less harmful in terms of packaging, in terms of material used for the packaging, and choices.
Right. No, coming back to you, Guru, I think just sort of snowballing from there. So, you also took a plastic-free pledge, right? So, how has your experience been? Did vendors try to change the way they were selling their products before? Alignments, did they change?
Yeah, we forced them to change. So
Right.
for us, we took the pledge in 2018 on the World Environment Day,
Right.
and that year also the theme was the same,
Yeah.
plastic pollution. So we took this pledge and we took a pledge of eliminating all single-use plastics and replacing all the daily use items where we use plastics with sustainable alternatives. So that kind of changed the entire behavior for the people. It was very clear. Every employee who joined the company at that point of time used to get a water bottle. You know, there's a joining kit.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
a water bottle. There's some other things, bag, and so on. So that's something that was difficult to enforce. We needed to have a lot of discussion with these guys to change their whole thing. I mean, they come up with this, our global standards, our they have the standards which
Absolutely.
are set up, which they don't want to change. It is uniform across for all the outlets.
Countries.
So that's something that we were able to change. So that's something that you can do as a corporate. You can always
Yeah.
mandate
Yeah.
some of the things, and these become very clear behavioral change in the employees as well.
These are the nudges that you need to push.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's also these kinds of things that will drive change. For
Yeah,
instance,
absolutely.
we were at a restaurant recently and we got offered water in bottles and we said we don't want bottles, just give us a regular water. We just saw him go to the back, empty those same bottles into a jug and bring us the same jug. So, like in Guru's example, it makes no difference if he's cutting up these 20 small packets into just the bigger jar and bringing.
No,
But
he
going
bring it in
full
a bigger
circle,
ones,
going full circle to say where is then that coming from?
Yeah.
Which is great that your company is doing it. But maybe not everyone does it at this point of time.
Correct.
No, I think that's where, like you're saying, we're bringing in awareness amongst the actual end consumer and the individuals themselves, right? That will add value.
Yeah,
So
and
today,
it's also really diving deep into some of these words that we use, right? Like
Yeah.
sustainable is so often used and
Yeah.
is the most
Most
abused.
most
Abused.
abused word as
Yeah.
well. But what really is sustainable? If you're using
Yeah.
a cotton tote bag instead of plastic,
Yeah.
it certainly appears better. But have we gone deep into seeing what is actually better? And there's at the end of it, you might still come out to say cotton bags are better than plastic bags. But is anyone dwelling deep into actually look at it is the question? Because end of the day, petrol is a byproduct of the petroleum industry, right? If you just look at it in isolation from the petroleum industry, your carbon footprint of plastic bag, there's a high chance it's lower than your cotton bag given the amount of resources that goes into growing cotton itself. And for the bag to offset the cost of a plastic bag, you'll have to use it, I think, 172 times each bag, which may or may not happen in the bag's
not practical.
life cycle.
But that's on the manufacturing.
Yeah,
That's on the
exactly.
manufacturing
But
side
But
as well.
then, yeah, but then disposal is a
exactly.
bigger issue with the
Big-
plastic.
the
So that's
plastic, the problem is disposal and waste management.
Correct.
That's
Where it
the
ends
main-
up is
yeah.
a concern.
yeah.
And it's about the life cycle of the plastic in itself. So that's the main challenge. But just sort of coming back to you, right? Like, how do you think today individuals, right? Like, they are feeling helpless because there's a lot of name and shame that's happening, but not really a lot of systems that they can actually go back into. They're forced to, okay, like he was saying, Coke today is a plastic bottle. So even if I, let's say, want to consume a Coke from the glass bottle, it's not available. So how do you kind of fix that? So that is something we'll have to look at. So individual behavior is one thing, but also trying to bring in systems that can integrate them into these systems. That is something that we'll have to look at.
It's a massive challenge. Like, as consumers, there's so much power that consumers hold
Yeah.
when it's exercised or when it's utilized. Every choice we make has an impact on the planet, right? Whether we choose to go out in a cycle or in a car makes an impact. Whether we choose to carry our own bags or get a plastic bag back because it's just easier to walk hands-free versus carrying a bag in your hand.
Yeah.
These are choices that make a
Yeah.
big difference, which I don't think we are inherently taught, at least now.
Yeah, exactly.
It makes a world of difference when we start thinking about the planet that we're going to leave behind for the next generation.
Yeah.
We're doomed to a certain degree.
I think, as rightly said,
Yeah.
there are scores of decisions individuals can make.
Correct.
Yeah,
From the
absolutely.
day, the time they start their day to the end, they end the day. Every step there is a choice that can be made.
Yeah.
Whether we will support the plastic initiative or plastic-free initiative.
Yeah.
I think that is what it boils down to.
Yeah.
And I think today there are sustainable alternatives available for every
Everything,
plastic
yeah.
that we use
Yeah.
in our daily lives.
Yeah.
Definitely there.
No,
It's
it's
just
also
that we need to have the will to look at it consciously.
Put the effort
You know,
into
put the effort to make it happen.
Sometimes it's
So
very
on the-
small, no?
Yeah,
Yeah.
very
Like
small.
1 liter of groundnut oil when you are buying, you can always buy it in a plastic bottle, or you can always buy it in a glass bottle.
Yeah.
It is available.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But now there are even companies who are willing to come to your apartment complex and refill things like dishwash liquid in your own jars.
Yeah.
So it's, in today's age, it's very hard to still say I don't have a choice, like you said.
Yeah.
There are enough and more companies and products that where you can make a conscious choice as well.
One thing to add to that, right? So it's also about conditioning. Like Kuru has been saying, we pay for convenience.
Yeah.
So what's happening with the onset of quick commerce? The amount of waste that's being generated. Initially, maybe like 10 years back, you would go to the shop one day in a week and get everything you want to. So ultimately, even if you were getting plastic, it would be limited to that.
Correct.
But today, like in a day, you have 4 or 5 deliveries coming in. So it's that much waste that is being generated. So
Insane.
it's
Yeah, it takes a lot of planning
Insane
to
amount
figure
of
out where you're going and can you
Yeah.
pick up something while you're there.
yeah.
Instead of saying I'll come back and then order on a quick
Yeah,
commerce platform and it'll come to
absolutely.
me in 7 minutes.
Yeah. No, I think there are, again, it's a great question, right? In terms of like rapid evolution, right, of e-commerce or the quick commerce, you have like you are generating a lot of packaging, right?
Right.
And that is obvious. Now the thing is that all this packaging actually, like whether, as I mentioned, like whether it's kind of brand packaging or secondary or the tertiary packaging, whether those are really required, right? Those
Absolutely.
are optimum
Yeah.
enough, right, for the particular delivery. You can see like excessive packaging is being used, right, to certain deliveries, right, which
Correct.
are not required,
Required at all.
Just relook at the packaging you are using, right, whether it's a plastic or kind of plastic related, right, and wherever you can reduce the consumption of that, right. The second.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just to sort of add to that, right? With quick commerce, most of your products are coming from dark stores. Most of them are already packed, right? So then, why do you have to add an extra layer of packaging? on top of that when you're actually delivering it.
Yeah.
Anyway, somebody is coming to deliver it. That person he already has the product list with him. So he can just check and hand over the products to you directly. So why an extra layer of packaging? So it's
That
just,
could be one question.
yeah.
Yeah. There are a couple of interesting initiatives. I think again, like with the advent of that better technology, right? So, for example, you have actually kind of ordered through say couple of days, right? But you don't need that immediately. And also, you must have seen right now that you need to actually have a balance, right? To be very honest, right? Because there are certain products which are very delicate,
Yeah.
right? Which are very fragile, for example.
Yeah.
So you accordingly kind of select that packaging, right? Or whether it's a plastic or kind of that mix of plastic. So that those are protected enough, because customer at the end of the day is very concerned about the
I
kind
think,
of the freshness or the kind of quality of the product.
That's where innovation has room, right?
Yeah.
So with the onset of AI, you can actually feed in these user inputs and data sets and actually build algorithms that are more efficient. So that will
Absolutely.
actually lead to the reduction of waste. So there's a lot of room for R&D as well in this space, but
It's true.
right now the way quick commerce is growing, they're still burning a lot of cash. So
Yeah.
there's
Lot.
There's no money left for anything else at this point.
Yeah, but,
But I
think-
also feel, going forward as the resources get more and more
Yeah.
expensive, I don't know how long people are going to order 50
Yeah,
rupees,
yeah,
50
sure,
rupees on the
sure.
quick
Yeah.
commerce side and still make
Yeah.
it profitable for everyone there. It's,
It's
a
not
it's a
going
big
to be
question mark
feasible.
on
Yeah,
how
that's
long
true.
this will sustain. Considering all the resources, if you see, it's become very expensive.
yeah.
Any resource today is expensive.
Yeah.
So we can't keep on relying on cheap labor to supply things to our
Yeah.
homes on a
And it's
daily
not-
basis, or minute by minute basis.
It's not just that, even the sustainability of quick commerce in itself is still a question, right?
Yeah.
So we don't really know how it's going to shape, but yeah, something that we'll have to look at.
But it's a good point what Shiv said on combining a few orders.
Yeah.
There are certain initiatives, right? So where you can actually, instead of using that shipper, normal kind of corrugate shipper, right? Like which is corrugate box basically, we like normally use for e-commerce, even to some extent quick commerce deliveries also. But the quick commerce is mostly that paper bags.
Yeah,
you must
yeah,
have seen,
paper.
right? I think nobody is using plastic.
Yeah, they're not
these carry
using.
bags, right? So how to even eliminate or kind of replace that right now through say reusable plastic totes, for example. You must have seen some of the like say big basket, right?
Yeah.
They actually use those kind of plastic crates, right? They deliver and then
Take it back.
right? So that kind of solution also like that some of the corporates
No,
would-
even-
it works for the groceries and all,
Yeah.
because anyway everything is packaged. So,
yeah.
but I think it is industry specific. The kind
Yeah.
of stuff you order, it has to be taken up at different levels.
That's
to
true.
Look at
Yeah.
all these.
Yeah.
initiatives.
The key takeaway here is the individual user has a lot of power, and community collective action has a lot of power. So I want to come to you with that because you've been involving the community and driving sustainability through the Hosachiguru initiative. So help us understand more. So what you guys are actually trying to do?
Yeah, when it comes to our practices in the farm, where we are managing the farms for our co-farmers. So very fact that we are aggregating the farm land and then managing it at scale, we are avoiding a lot of wastages for them, and we educate our co-farmers the purpose of these decisions, and they are very supportive of it. We normally have what you call quarterly meet with our co-farmers. We educate and we share these thoughts with them.
Right.
They are very appreciative of it.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
You
no, I
wanna
think
add?
I've just adding on to what Ashok said as well. Everything in nature nothing is permanent. Everything goes back. So we do need products that go back as well. I do feel at the heart of everything is going to be innovation in India.
Right.
India is a very unique cultural melting point. There's so many issues of our own.
Yeah.
We may look to the West or other countries for some ideas, but ultimately innovation has to come from here.
I think like plastic as a packaging, right? It's a kind of I should say miracle product, no doubt about that. It's one of the latest inventions. Managing the plastic waste, right?
Correct.
I think that is somewhere actually we need to kind of emphasize, right, and innovate a lot how to manage that well, whatever we have already produced, right, since the invention of plastic. And then, in parallel to that, look at that 3R aspect.
Yeah.
What is that?
Reduce,
reuse, and recycle.
Okay.
I think we have to kind of look at that holistically, right?
Yeah.
Not only one aspect
Yeah,
of
not
that,
in
only the
silos.
cost, or maybe kind of only the kind of this convenience point of view, but the entire gamut of that, right? If we talk about sustainability, because sustainability kind of no more like buzzword nowadays.
So, any closing thoughts, sir?
Yeah, I think as we discussed, it is not only about managing the waste. It is also being conscious about that plastic is entering us in our bloodstream,
Right.
in our food, every aspect of it. It is impacting our health also. So it becomes that much more important that everybody provides that required attention
Absolutely.
to avoid usage of plastic.
Thank you for your inputs. So, just to sort of close this conversation, right? It's not just about individual awareness and individual will to actually bring about change, but it's about institutional courage, the courage to care, the courage to care for it visibly and sustainably. So that should be the way to go forward. It's not about being plastic free, it's not about being plastic perfect, but it's about being unignorably aware, right, of what plastic can actually do to you and trying to act on that front. So, yeah, that's what I had to say. Yeah, thank you for your time, thank you for your inputs.
Thank
It
you
was
so
a
much.
wonderful
Thank you for the
conversation.
conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.